Basically, Tool Brother does just about everything in Google. So. Yeah. It's almost like Google's force Microsoft. Some people it's like the old Microsoft standalone capability.
Alright, so now we have our next presentation on robotics during my training.
Hello, my name is DMateen, and today I will be presenting to you about robotics and the medical field. So robotics is all around us. Wherever we look, there are machines and technologies working autonomously. May it be our cell phones or computers, Roombas, if any of you have them. But this ubiquity of robots got me wondering, where do we draw the line between robots and humans? Now, a study done by the Bank of England suggests that in 10 to 20 years, 50% of UK jobs will be taken by robots due to the efficiency and accuracy that they complete tasks at. So this got me wondering, where do we draw the line between robot work and human work? Now, looking more specifically into a certain field, I looked into the medical field. There's been new technology, robotic technology coming out, such as the Da Vinci surgical system, which helps surgeons perform procedures such as heart transplants with robotic technology. So this brought me to my thesis question of what place does robotic surgery have in the medical field? Now, before I even started thinking about my thesis paper, community service or legacy, I dove into my internship. Now, initially, when I contacted a few companies, I was not granted my internship due to them being in a critical phase of their project. So, racking my brain for ideas, I thought about contacting Professor Rose from our UVA engineering class in 11th grade. After emailing him a few times, I got in contact with Professor Dugans of UVA, who was a mechanical engineering professor. And in the summer of 2015, she granted me the opportunity to come shadow for a group of graduate students that were building this humanoid robot. And so I thought to myself, wow, this is a really cool opportunity, and I'm going to love it. So I got there, and it turned out that all the technical jargon, all the programming, it was way over my head, and I did not understand a single word that they were saying. But luckily, with a great amount of luck, I met a graduate student named Unmar, who gave me the opportunity of a lifetime. He told me that he was working on a little side project, which was a robotic arm, and that he wanted my help with it. So every year, 1,976 children are born with a limb defect. This may be an arm or a leg from like the elbow down. And that means that these families have to purchase prosthetics for these children, which can range from $3,000 to $30,000. And since children grow every year, it means that they have to replace these prosthetics and they have to pay the same amount of money for those prosthetics for the children. So Limitless Solutions is a project that Unmar was inspired by, and I also got inspired by, which is, the premise is to build a 3D printed robotic arm that is cheap for these families and does the same functions as a normal prosthetic. And so with this inspiration, I was able to help Unmar with this project. Over the summer, in about 15 hours, we built this entire robotic arm. And so in this internship, I got to use a lot of cool technology. So here you'll see a mixed digital oscillation scope, which basically shows the amount of electricity going into a certain circuit. I got to learn how to solder and put together circuits. Here you'll see this is my first circuit that together with Arduinos and muscle sensors. This is the breadboard with the Arduino being the blue chip. That's basically the brain of the robotic arm. The red being the muscle sensor, and up there is the servo motor that controls how the arm moves. And so here is one of the coolest technologies that I thought when I was doing this internship was the muscle sensors. Here you can see unmarked muscles, and every time he would contract his muscles, the muscle sensors would pick up that movement of muscles, and it would send that information to the Arduino and converting that into mechanical energy with the servo motor. Another cool technology that I got to use was the MakerBot 3D printer. And so this was actually one of the funnest experiences, but very fun experience that I had. He allowed me to 3D print the fingers and the hands. And so this process took around like 11 to 10 hours for each part. And the first 2 attempts that we tried did not work out. Here you'll see my first attempt at 3D printing, and it's just a jumbled mess. And so, but after fixing the Blender program, we were able to print this 3D printed palm. And so here you'll see there are holes within the hand. That's where we were going to use fishing line as a way to contract the fingers and use the servo motor to do that. This is the fully put together hand. As you can see, the black parts are this cool material known as Ninja Flex, which is basically like a rubbery material that can bend but also holds its shape when it's not put in stress. A quirky thing that I learned when doing this project was that everything in the engineering world doesn't necessarily work the way you plan it. And so here up there you'll see a bottle of Germex, which we actually use to put together the hand. It was a lot of when assembling the hand, the pieces would like get put together properly. So we used that as a lubricant, and that was very beneficial in the process. And so here you'll see the hand has a natural curvature, as like most hands have, and this is a size comparison with the hand. And so we've completed the hand a few weeks back. I actually helped fix the circuit board because the programming wasn't working and a lot of the wiring wasn't working. And so now we have a fully working robotic arm, which I'll bring to the Senior Expo if any of you are there. And so this internship really brought out my interest in the medical field and specifically looking into robotics and the medical field itself. So I looked into robotic surgery from a thesis paper. So when people think of robotic surgery, they tend to think of some autonomous beings such as like C-3PO performing like a heart transplant on you. But really, this is not the case. It's a rather misleading term. It should be robotic assisted surgery. Now, robotic assisted surgery is basically a form of laparoscopic surgery, which is basically a surgery that uses a videoscope and long hand tools to perform surgery within the body instead of doing open surgery, such as normal abdominal surgeries. And so this technology has been around since the Bronze Age, but now with modern technology, we are able to develop robots that can perform the same surgery. So here you'll see the DMateen robot surgical system. The head surgeon is right there with the large machine, and you can see the actual robot right there that performs the surgery. And so the way this machine works is that the head surgeon uses the video game controller-like device to control where the robotic arm moves, and then he looks through a 3D visual, camera. That camera right there, it projects a 3D image to him, and he's able to perform the surgery with these video game controllers. And so there are many benefits to robotic surgery. One of the most clear benefits is that there is less puncture wounds, meaning there's less bleeding within the surgery. Patients say that it's also painless for the most part. Another benefit is that it makes, with the small incisions done by the robotic arms, it allows for patients to heal faster. They don't have to stay in hospitals as long, and there are less scars on their bodies. And so here's a study done by MedSurg. This is a basic demographic of surgeries done with robotic assisted surgery. And so you'll notice here that the length of the procedure for robotic assisted surgery was 145 minutes, whereas with normal traditional surgery, it was 125, showing that robotic surgery does take a lot longer. But as you'll see, the length of stay at the PACU, which is basically the post-operative room, was substantially less, as well as the hospital day was 1 day less using robotic-assisted surgery than traditional surgery, as well as the amount of blood loss in the surgery was substantially less, 88 milliliters with robotic-assisted surgery and 336 milliliters with traditional surgeries. Another cool fact, I suppose, is that the amount of IV fluids used in robotic-assisted surgery was 1,000 milliliters less than with traditional surgery. And so here's a continuation of the chart that shows the complications within the surgeries. And so here you'll see, again, the bleeding complications right there. The just other complications. I see the total complication goes out to 12 for robotic-assisted surgery, whereas with traditional surgeries, it is 20, which is substantially higher than robotic-assisted surgery. This is another study done between open surgery, laparoscopic surgery, and then robotic-assisted surgery. And so again, you'll see that the operating time, this is a more recent study, so the operating time has gone down, the blood loss has gone down, and the average stay at a hospital is substantially less for robotic-assisted surgery than it is with open surgery. So there are many studies done. This is a claim made by the BBC that 144 deaths have been claimed by robotic-assisted surgery, which is substantially less since this is over a 14-year period. But robotic-assisted surgery is a lot safer than most people think. In normal pancreatic surgery, the amount of deaths done in traditional surgeries are 5%, whereas with robotic-assisted surgery are 2.23%. And so every technology comes with this cost being fiscal. One of the greatest drawbacks of robotic-assisted surgery is that it costs so much. Each system costs around $2 million for a hospital, which a lot of hospitals cannot afford. But it is projected that once this technology becomes more widespread, the cost of it will go down and be used more throughout the world. And so some future, I guess, not solutions, but future, where robotic surgery will be in the future will be eventually it'll get to a point where instead of doing multiple holes for the surgery, you'll be able to perform any surgery with one hole and do any abdominal surgeries with that. And so with my piece of paper out of the way and my internship, I was really excited about robotics and I really wanted to get that excitement and love for robotics out to the community. So I decided to contact Michelle Eric at the library, and with great help from Mr. Caraway and Zach Wright, I was able to get my community service off the ground. I decided to teach these children about how to build robots and that robots aren't really that complicated. So here I taught them how to build a bristleBot, which is basically a pager loader connected to a battery on top of a toothbrush. And here you'll see a solar roller robot, which is a solar panel connected to a motor with a few electronic tools like capacitors and such, and it just runs off of sun energy. And so at my community service, I taught these, I gave a small presentation about robotics, what robotics is, and how it's not complicated. And then I began to teach them how to solder, like Anwar taught me. And I taught these children how to put together the solar roller robot and how the circuitry and how all the components of this technology works. And so here you'll see me working with them with the capacitors and the solar cell. And so this community service overall was 15, 16 hours of teaching these children. And I would like this to be my legacy as well, to keep this robotics night running at the library, keep teaching children about robotics and how it's very beneficial to the advancement of technology. And I will hopefully come back next year to keep the program running. But I also intend to have the robotics club of William Monroe High School to also help me out with this event and get children excited about robotics. And so my next step in life, I'm going to go to college. I am choosing between Virginia Tech and JMU. I'm going to pursue hopefully engineering, but also business, because that is what I'm interested in. And Vervix program has really helped me with this entire process of learning how to present, how to speak to people, how to communicate over long distances, and I'm very thankful for that. Are there any questions?
So I just have a quick statement. First of all, fantastic presentation. And being a Hokie, I would say go ahead and choose Virginia Tech. That'll set you off in the right direction. No, that was really informative and well done. Just curious about your work with Unmar, if that's going to continue as you go to college. It sounds like you guys struck a really good professional relationship.
So our initial idea was to develop this prototype, and I was talking to Unmar a few days ago, and he's saying that if we can get this prototype and convince like the superiors that it's like a really beneficial way to learn about robotics engineering and like getting community service hours, we might potentially make a program at UPA to help like freshman students like build the robotic arm, which basically will be helping people around around the community with these prosthetic arms, but will also be
How did you convince him to kind of pull you under his wing and take you?
It was honestly a lot of luck. I didn't really actually ask him at all. I didn't know that he was doing this project. It was more, I went to like the third meeting and I was trying to learn about this Raspberry Pi device. And then he was just started talking about his project that he was doing, and he was like, I could actually use some help with it, and I landed an internship. Which, to my advice to rising Vervix seniors would be to utilize your contacts. So I got into contact with Unmar through Professor Rose from our Vervix engineering class. So I definitely used the contacts that he has in Vervix to land those internships. It would be very helpful.
The doctors being, med students being trained in robotics, or is that something they have to pick up after they enter the medical profession?
So robotic assisted surgery has a very fairly steep learning curve, and if you want to go into like if you want to do those type of surgeries, well, you have to go out on your own to do that. It's but since it's becoming more ubiquitous, people are going to start learning it.
So after you finish your initial education, what are your future plans? Do you want to focus on the medical field, or are you interested in other fields?
It honestly depends on what happens in college. I mean, I definitely have an interest for engineering, and this internship really did open my eyes to the world of possibilities. So I'll just have to see like where it heads in college. Hopefully, maybe like start an engineering business. Do full prosthetic stuff with it. I don't know. Exciting though.